trying to keep myself in line. Still on the road, being still makes me go wild. How about the rest of you quit staring when I'm at the bar? I drink my sorrows up so I can't think about home as far. Who said I had to go home anyway? Got no reason to go, got no reason to stay. Middle of nowhere, and I'm lonely as hell. But I've still got a few more records to sell.
There she is.
How are you?
This is how you start a week, Lilly Winwood. I'm telling you. You know, not a lot of better ways to do it. How are you, Lilly?
I'm great. How are you?
Look at that compound. It's so elegant and, good vibes and mirrors in there. Feng shui. I dig it.
This is my little, I call this my bullshit room. It's kind of like where like all the important stuff gets done, but also just where all the like not important stuff gets done.
Right. No pressure.
A pile of guitars right now, just over here. Like
I like that. It's the room where I would call it. We'll see what happens room.
Exactly.
I love it, Lilly Winwood. Well, listen, excited to talk to you. I mean, it's been a long time coming, honestly, because we have so many mutual friends, and anybody with this level of talent and loved by the community like you. I mean, that's how you really start the week. And obviously your newest single, Sleep Issues. Great stuff. And last year's album, Time Well Spent, also critically lauded for my audience there. But yeah, thanks for joining, Lilly.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm always amazed by this, and I always ask when I have someone with British ties on my show, the way you can slip into like an American accent. I just think it's like so brilliant. Like it blows my mind. Like how long does it take? Like obviously, you grew up in Britain and you have the ties, Lilly, but like did you have a vocal coach when you first maybe did Time Well Spent or something? Like
no. Oh gosh, it's so funny you bring this up because it's something that like my friends make fun of me all the time for. But I feel like the reason I've started like because even when I talk I'll slip into an American accent too, and it's because like I think my mother is American and she has like a really thick Southern accent, but I think like when I first moved here it's so like, especially like I worked in the service industry too, and so just every single day people are like, where are you from, like how'd you get that accent, yada yada, and I was just so sick of explaining myself that I just eventually started like throwing on an American accent. Like say if I'm just like going to the coffee shop or something and like getting a coffee real quick, I'll be like, can I have an Americano, like
right.
just to sort of avoid that like annoying like, oh, where are you from, because it's literally just every day.
But listening to some of your stuff, Lilly, you could be from the Midwest. You know what I mean? You could be from Wisconsin in some songs. Like you never know.
Right? I'll take it.
From Yorkshire.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with like in terms of like singing too, I've always done that. I don't really know, like a lot of it is to do with like pronunciation. Like if you're singing in a British accent in songs, it can be sometimes like quite brash. Like Like I'm thinking of like maybe like the Sex Pistols or something. That's how I
Right.
always feel like I come across if I sing in an
Mm,
English accent. So singing an American accent almost just feels like more natural.
that makes sense. Like you sometimes see some TV shows, right? And you're shocked to find that these people that are playing American actors are like English. It's
Yeah,
like that's kind
yeah,
of how you come across.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, no, it's fascinating, Lily. And I remember you on Could Have Fooled Me, your 2012 single, but which by the
Yeah.
way is 10 years old, and it's blowing my mind that that's 10 years old. Um, but yeah, that must have been an exciting time for you, Lily, right? Because I mean, in research, it kind of seems that that's when you know you were really starting to see like, wow, I can do this for myself and pack a room. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny you brought that single up. I think like somebody else brought that single up the other day and I had like almost forgotten about it. I was 16 when I released that. And it was like I very much kind of cringe when I hear it now, just because I'm like, oh man, it really was just when I was like first starting out and like first, playing out in the world and like kind of getting my sound going. And like it is a song that I'm very proud of. And I do look back at it kind of with like a sense of like, oh, little Lil let that out. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've grown a lot since
Of course you
that.
have, of course, but it's like a timestamp. I mean, you wrote London when you were like 14. You know what I mean? Most
Yeah.
of us, when we're 14, we're just like into our puberty years, and you're already thinking about boyfriends moving to the city, chasing us. You know what I mean? So your
Yeah.
definition of time maturity is like ahead of everybody else's, Lily.
Thank you.
Oh my God. And I want to get to your story, which is absolutely fascinating in a second. But first, I briefly mentioned everybody loves you, Lily, in East Nashville. And my good friend Alan Thompson, frontman of Lady Couch, of course, as well as Boo Ray, also a good pal. Just to name a few, Alex Munoz, friend of our show. I mean, everybody loves Lily Winwood. You say the name and people just smile. It's like
Oh, thank you.
it's almost like you could walk to like a funeral and be like Lily Winwood, and people's state would change. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my gosh.
It's true. It's
Thank
true.
you. It's really
Is
sweet.
is that why, Lily, like you love the city like so much? Because I feel like you're an integral part of East Nashville.
Oh, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. I think for whatever reason, I think East Nashville in particular is home to just such a like innate group of creative individuals, and I just like somehow found myself surrounded by these people, and I just like I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I just feel like I really sort of found like where my creativity belongs, like where my heart belongs. And I just think it's such an interesting and unique place.
It
I
is.
wouldn't trade it for the world.
It is. I mean, just the way like we met was, in this dingy bar that most people would find unpretentious, but
Exactly.
magic happens there like every day of the week. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's so wild. And it's just, I think so many people when they come to Nashville, they just immediately want to hit Broadway but it's really just kind of like what defines East Nashville is just the creative neighborhood that it is. Because like on any given like Tuesday, you can literally like go to this like dive bar with nothing else around it,
Right.
and run
Exactly.
into, make some of the coolest connections or see some of the best live music.
I'm telling you, Lily, you're like top three coolest people I've ever met already. But anyway, so your summers in Nashville, Lily, because you grew up in England, and I'm gonna probably butcher this, but like was it like Gloucestershire?
Gloucestershire, yeah.
Okay, blah blah. Yeah, let's just bleep that. That was like a
It's
curse
one of the
word.
better ones.
Yeah, but you grew up there, but you used to do your summers here because, like you said, your mom is from a town around here.
Yeah.
How are your summers like when you came? And I'm talking about like 10, 11-year-old, 9-year-old Lily when you came to Nashville. What do you remember from those summers?
Oh my gosh, just like nothing but great memories. Nashville has definitely changed a lot since I was growing up, but even
Mm,
still, it was just this like just magic about this town, like the music and the creativity. And I just also remember it being like so hot. Like I think that sticks out more than anything. Just
Your
like
British DNA would just burst, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But oh no, I mean, it was something so magic about it. I would also end up a lot of my summers growing up here was spent in Leaper's Fork. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like a little town just outside. It's kind of like more close to Franklin, but it's this like really cute little quaint town, and everybody there is just so like it's just such a neighborhood vibe.
Is that where your mom's from?
No, she's from Trenton, Tennessee, which is
Okay.
East Tennessee. But
Okay.
we just like had a lot of friends there, and like that's kind of how I first got into like a music community. Like there was this producer out in Leaper's Fork, who's a good friend of, friend of the family, and who's I sort of first started writing with. His name's Gary Ciramelli. I think we would play like open mics out there, and so it was just like nothing but like really warm and like inviting memories.
Totally. Okay, I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned the new, like how Nashville is changing, Lily, because I think you're the perfect person to ask this, because you've been here a while, but at the same time, you have a pretty international soul. So how are you looking at this, at the way the city is growing? Because everybody complains about the traffic and the real estate, but at the same time, they just opened like a Peruvian place across from my building in the Gulch. You know what I mean?
Right,
So it's
yeah.
like where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I think for the longest time I was just like the grouch, that stayed in the house being like, oh, Nashville's changed so much. I remember when this used to be this bar and like this used to be this restaurant. But like I think the more you stay in that mentality, like it's not, I feel like my perspective has shifted, because I'm like, that's just always gonna happen. And like in an ever-growing city, you might as well just find new things that you love and like look at the good about the growing in the city than be that person that's just constantly complaining about what
Interesting.
used to be.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't know, I invite the change.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see kind of the growth of this city, and what it means and what it brings, and
Absolutely.
the more
Absolutely.
people the better.
Absolutely. I do want to ask you a song about your songwriting here for a second, Lily, because you've mentioned in another interview, you mentioned that, you're not a huge fan of like the co-writes in Nashville. Maybe they misquoted you, maybe they didn't, but for people that in my audience that don't know, in Nashville here, the co-writing and being in a room with people and 11 to 4 hammer out songs is pretty common. You
Right.
still like to do it like on a personal level, like with yourself, right? Is that true?
Yeah, I so this is again another thing where my perspective has changed a little bit, because I feel like there's only so far you can get by yourself with writing songs. And I feel like if you're ever really gonna kind of invite change into your life, then it's you're gonna get more out of writing with other people and sort of exploring your sound with other people. But this being said, I feel like I will always be the most comfortable
Yeah.
writing by myself, just because I feel like my way of writing is so, I try to treat it like a 9 to 5 and sort of like lock myself in this particular room and just like don't really let myself out until I feel like I've gotten something that I'm happy with. But that's just realistically not the case.
Sure. Is it like dating, Lily? Because, I have a lot of creative friends. I'm not an artist, so I've never been in a co-write session. Is it like dating in that, you know, you meet someone, there's no chemistry, there's not gonna be a hit song there, but when you hit it, but when it's there, when the magic's there, it's there. Is it kind of like that?
Oh, like absolutely. That's such a good analogy. Yeah. It's a bit like dating. I mean, also you kind of just have to, at least in my case, I think I'm like a very naturally like introverted person. So it can be just like so uncomfortable going into a room with like, I don't know, like a complete stranger, or even not a complete stranger, and just sort of being like letting go of any kind of sense of like fear that you have surrounding
Right.
like your feelings or anything like that. So it's a very like vulnerable process, you know. So I mean, it can in a sense be a lot like dating, and like the sense that it's like a first date, like awkward, but like, you know, if there is a spark there, that can be a
Right,
writing partner for life.
right. Or, it's not going anywhere and who's going to pick up the check? But it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you write a song that, you know, nobody, you know, that you're not a fan of, then nobody has to hear it.
Right. I love that. I love that, Lily. Well, look, you're so busy. You're being so good with your time, and you may play a song for us, which we're really excited. But let me ask you about the Super Bowl commercial that you did with your dad, the
Yeah.
Hershey's commercial,
Yeah.
because I mean, you were younger, obviously, but were you aware? This is when your voice came to the masses, I would say. Were
Yeah.
you aware that, like, when you were doing this, that this was such a big deal that 100 million people would basically be hearing your voice?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, so the way that that song came together, James Vincent McMorrow did a cover of Higher Love that was like very stripped down. And I think my dad came across it and was like, oh, that's like a really interesting take on that song. You know, I think that there's something more that maybe I could do here, and I'm interested to see where this goes. So he actually put a piano track down, and kind of just like, I think I was homesick from school, and like you can hear it in my voice on the track how I'm just like really nasally, but
Mm.
he basically like was like, hey look, come sing on this real quick, and like sort of, and I was like, no, I don't want to, you know, my voice. Is like, no, just see what you can do, and like put me in the booth, and I recorded it, and then like next thing you know, it was Hershey's kind of took it on board, and it was a huge deal, you know. I was
It's a
still in
huge
school.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, we'll put that in here when we edit it in a little bit. But I mean, Lily, you've been so good with your time, and you're going to be hitting the road soon. That's exciting. So people should check you out at lillywinwood.com. I think May 20th, you play Charleston, South Carolina, and you're going to be hammering it out pretty much a lot. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Are you going to play a song for us? Are we?
absolutely, I would love to.
Woo!
Yeah.
The week is downhill from here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, so this is I'm gonna play a new single that I just released called Sleep Issues. But yeah, here it goes. Well, it's the fifth cup of coffee I've had today, all the way to the doctor to say I can't sleep again. I'll blame the hole in the wall and my neighbor's screams when they see the giant monster sleeping next to me, but it's probably just the caffeine. Just did 13 hours on my feet. How the hell do you expect me to just lay down and sleep? Well, my mind is a car that stops at every red light, keeps driving past your house late at night. Forgive me, I don't want to intrude. I'm just wondering if you have sleep issues too. Lay on down, day's not too far. I'm well aware of what goes on after dark. You can't wake me from this dream. If in the first place I was never sleeping. Like me sleeping, it's the chance of you being hit and killed by an ambulance. My panic's in loose by the smallest things. I
smoke while I clip my wings, balancing on the wire above my house, trying to set my mattress on fire. Lay on down, please, not too far. I'm well aware of what goes on after dark. You can wake me from this dream, if in the first place I was never asleep. Just did 13 hours on my feet. How the hell do you expect me to just lay down and sleep? Well, my mind is a car that stops at every red light, keeps driving past your house late at night. Forgive me, I don't intrude. I'm just wondering if you have sleep issues too.
Yes, Lilly Winwood, what a treat. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, and I hope we cross paths again soon. And yeah, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Lilly. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye, you too.